No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved.
I chose up. How many of you have had a period or a point in your life when you just wanted to give up? Maybe you were working on a project. Maybe you were in a relationship. Maybe you were on a job. Maybe you were just at that point where you wanted to give up. Something in you was ready to signal surrender. Something in you said, I've had it. It's enough. You wanted to quit. You wanted to give up. You wanted to say, that's the end. I think about a number of years ago, early in my ministry, when I felt that way. I had been contemplating for several weeks about whether I really wanted to continue or not as a pastor. And I had decided that particular Sunday morning when I was still getting ready to go to church. This is it. I'm done. When I finish preaching my sermon, I'm going to go in my office, I'm going to call the bishop, and I'm going to tell him I'm done. So already thinking of the apologies that I would make to people, the things that I would say, and all of that. That's it for me. So I went to church that morning. Nobody knew what I had on my mind. I stood up in the pulpit. I preached the message, and it just felt like, things were just not going, and that was almost confirmation for me. And I was making my way back to the door of that church because the custom was that I would stand on the door, and when people came out, I would shake their hands and greet them and all of that. And I was making my way back to the door. And standing at the door was a young man that was a member of the church. He was being raised by his grandmother. And he was very mischievous. Anything that there was a little bit of trouble, a little stir at church, at school, or at home, he was going to be found in it. I didn't want to call him bad because I don't believe that any children are bad. Their behavior might be bad. And his behavior certainly was bad. He was known for that. But he was standing at the doorway as I was making my way up. And I couldn't figure out why he was standing there. But as I got to the door, and he looked at me, and he smiled, a snaggletooth smile. And he said, I know what you preached about today. I said, you do? He said, yes. H-O-P-E. Hope. He said, you gotta have some. And then he hit me and ran on down the hallway. But for me, that was message enough that what I needed, rather than to quit, was to have hope. And I said to myself, if he can get it, then maybe I need to get it too. And as I think about this time of year. This time of year when we celebrate hope. This time of year when, in the midst of all the Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Giving Tuesday and all of the holiday hustle and bustle and commercialism and everything else, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a season of H-O-P-E, hope. And it's kind of interesting that we do, because some of the different celebrations that we have in this time of year that help to remind us actually have their birth in darkness. Because if you think about it for a moment, when you are without hope, when you want to give up, when you feel like that things are not going the way that you wish for them to be, whether it's a physical or a mental darkness, very often you find yourself in that state. Because I asked if anybody felt like they wanted to give up, and people raised their hands or nodded their heads or they smiled or some kind of affirmation, because I think that all of us have reached a point in our lives in some way, some situation or circumstance where we wanted to give up, where we wanted to quit. And we felt that, and it might be that in those situations and circumstances, one of the sensations that we might have had might have been that of darkness. But then there's hope. And in this season, these celebrations, we can start with the Hindu celebration of Diwali, or the Festival of Lights. But it is a celebration where the Hindus acknowledge the victory of good over evil, that there's somehow a separation or moving away from those things that they will identify as evil, as suddenly being a place for hope. And then we can look at Hanukkah and see in Hanukkah the situation where the people were trapped in the temple, and there was only enough oil for one night, but they trusted and that they had hope that they were going to be able to transcend and outlast the darkness, and it did indeed happen for them, and it's a part of the celebration that they have for them. We can look at the aspect of this time of year, the season of Advent, in the Christian world, where Christians are expressing a sense of hope, the hope that was born those 2,000 or more years ago, bringing in and ushering the idea of a Messiah or a Savior, but again, being a people who were stumbling about in darkness in one way, who were in captivity, who had been oppressed, who had been cast out, who had found themselves in a place where they didn't have all that they needed, and yet they still continue to have hope. H-O-P-E. And partnered with that sense of hope was the idea of a light. That somehow in the midst of darkness, there's light that's available. There's light. And that's what I think we have to continue to remember when we find ourselves in those places and in those situations and circumstances where things make us want to give up, where things make us feel like that there's not a chance, where things make us feel that continue to have hope, continue to trust that the light is there, that the light will be there, even when we can't see it. There's a proverb that says that faith is like the bird that begins singing while it's still dark. It may not yet be sunrise, but that doesn't matter to the bird, because the bird knows already that there's something inside of the bird that tells the bird that sunlight is coming. And I don't know about you, But I know that for me, every now and then, I need the reminder, I need to understand and remember that sunlight is coming. It might be dark right now. It might be that things are happening that we don't wish for them to, but sunlight is coming. We can look around in our world and see things that are happening here in our world, and people in situations or circumstances that are unfortunate, that maybe infuriate us. We can look at mothers that are being gassed at the border. We can look at machinations that are happening with our politicians and all of those kinds of things. We can see the continued injustice and everything. It might seem dark, but I still say that in the midst of this darkness, there's still hope and there's still light. And we have to come together and celebrate that. We have to come together and remind one another of that. Because you see, one of the purposes of a place like Open Heart, you all are already enlightened and guided beings. You already have that within you. You wouldn't be attracted to a place like this if you weren't. You have something already that helps you to understand who you are. You know that you are magnificent, God-nificent beings. You already know that. I don't have to tell you that. You already know that. When you walk in the door, I can see when you walk in, that you walk in that manner. You come in like you know that that's who you are. And that's all right. But every now and then, we have to remind one another, because there might be somebody, it might be me, that walks in and needs a reminder of just how great you are. When we talk about holding the space for each other, what we're talking about is that we are knowing your magnificence. We are knowing your God-nificence. We are knowing how wonderful that you are. And even if you don't feel it right now, understand it doesn't take away from the fact that's the truth of who you are. So when we gather here, we have to remember that, remind ourselves of that, and then we have to also be that light for other people. Because there are other people that don't come here, and they may not hear a message or hear us sing a song that we sang this morning. I am the radiant light of God, and I shine the light of freedom and wisdom and prosperity and healing and silence and all those things. They might not hear those things. They might not know or understand those things. And it's incumbent upon us not only to know that for ourselves, but to recall the admonition of the Master Teacher Jesus to not hide our lights under a bushel, but to put it on the hill for all to see, because we are the radiant light of God. And when we do that, we begin to understand our own godnificence and the purpose of light in our lives. When light shows up. Leonard Sweet, who's the former president of United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio, my hometown, shared a story that when he was a little boy, his mother took him to, she was making a big deal about this, we're going to go to the symphony. And she was telling him how wonderful that the symphony was going to be. She was going to telling him that there were going to be people playing instruments, playing beautiful like Jelani did this morning, and other things there. And Leonard Sweet said he was really excited about it all, and it was going to be his first time experiencing a symphony. And so when they got there and they sat in their seats, and she had him dress up with his Sunday suit on and all of that to look all neat and nice and everything. And he got there and he sat down in his seat. And he said as he sat there, he looked up on stage and he saw these musicians there on the stage with instruments in their hand, but they were making all kinds of racket. There was all kinds of noises, and one was playing this and one was playing that and playing all kinds of things. And he thought, is this what I came here for? Is this the wonderful experience my mother was telling me about? And what he didn't realize is that they were warming up but he sat there and he was really kind of perplexed at all of what was going on and all of what was happening. But then, at a certain moment, everything, the chaos that was there, that was happening on stage with all of the musicians playing one thing and playing another thing, it ceased because the conductor had walked out. And he took his baton and he tapped on the podium, raised his hands, and began. And then the sweet set, that beautiful music began to emanate from those musicians on the stage. But it took the conductor to come and to bring order to chaos. And I think that that's what this season helps to remind us of, is that there is a presence and a power that is in each and every one of you. That whatever the chaos might be, whatever the things that might be going on, whatever the stuff is that is swirling around, when light shows up, like that conductor, then it all starts to get transformed. When light shows up, peace comes into disharmony, situations that are situations of disharmony. When light shows up, abundance starts to happen. You start to feel and know yourself being abundant. Even if you still have empty pockets and an empty bank account, you still understand how abundant that you are. When light shows up, help and healing and wholeness comes as a matter of being able to say something like, thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, and it washes over you and it comes out of you. When life shows up, all of the worry and the stress that sometimes you have, it suddenly dissipates, because in light, truth comes about, and all of the things that are not truth and not like light have to scatter and dissipate, because light is present, light is on the scene, light is here. We are people of light. We are the radiant light of God, and we shine the light of prosperity. We shine the light of healing. We shine the light of hope. We shine the light of wisdom. We shine the light of knowledge. We shine the light of love. We shine the light of freedom.
I will play for you Killing Me Softly with this song. I'm very glad. Okay.
invite you to take a breath, releasing this breath, knowing that there is only one power, one presence in the universe, and that is God. And as each of us embodies all that we have learned today, take it in, make it our own, and we simply live from those very truths. We give thanks for all who have participated today. We give thanks for the lesson, the beautiful music, the affirmative reading, the centering moment, and just all of the beautiful and wonderful energy each and every person has brought into this space and into this place today. Moving forward, knowing that even when there is darkness, there is light just on the other side. When it's night where I am, there's always the sun because it's shining just on the other side of the earth. The light is always there. Even in the darkest of nights when there is no moon, there are the stars, those beautiful twinkling lights. And in the worst thunderstorm, there is the lightning, that beautiful crackle and that beautiful light that shows me that even in the midst of all that is going on, there is light. And I know that I am one of those beautiful, radiant beams of light. I bring myself to the world. I shine brightly, lighting up whatever space I am in, letting everyone else around me know that there is light, there is hope, there is love. So I release, I let go, I let God, and so it is.